Hey guys, and welcome to
This is your intro. I'm rolling with you.
I'm saying, hey guys, welcome to.
That's not how the intro goes. We've never done what you're doing right now.
Oh, okay.
What's your name?
I'm Mrs. Noise.
And I'm Mr. Noise. And this is
I Still Do.
That's what we normally do.
Well,
but she all fancy today.
Well, you said for me to do it, so
well, this I'm riding with you, homie.
You know what I'm gonna do.
You know what? The crazy part about marriage is the little inside jokes that you and your wife have. And this one here, boy. Oh, man.
No, give me no.
So, as y'all can see, it's still cold in the house. I got my toboggan on. Trying to stay warm.
70 degrees outside.
Right, outside. But inside is 31. It's 31 freaking degrees.
It is not, no.
This chick got it freezing up in this joint. Goodness gracious. I'm over here fighting for my life. Fighting for my life in here.
Okay.
We got a special show for y'all today. As y'all can see, we're doing a total review of the Ultimatum, which is the show on Netflix. So if you've seen it, then you will enjoy this review. If you have not seen it, this is going to be a total spoiler alert.
Facts.
I'm just letting you know in advance. But it still doesn't take away from the show because it's a good show. So we like to give full disclosure before we talk about this show. We are not reality show fans. That is not our bag. We don't watch them. We actually stumbled on this show because of another show that we watched that was similar in nature called Love is Blind. And Love is Blind is a social experiment about relationships where can you fall in love sight unseen? Well, this is the next level of that, which is called another social experiment called the Ultimatums, Marry Me or Move On. 7 couples.
That'll preach.
Come on now.
Marry me or move on.
Oh, where's white organist when you need him? Nope. 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 Not doing that. So here's how the show works. We'll give you the basic premise of the show. 7 couples get together, all young. I think 30 was the oldest person in the group. But 7 couples get together. And the premise of the group is one of the people in the relationship has decided to give an ultimatum to the other person. It is exactly what we just said. Marry me or move on. If you don't want me, then don't talk to me.
Don't talk to me.
They're going straight Fantasia up in this.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So they decide to come on the show and test this theory of marry me or move on. But there's a twist. The 7 couples that are there switch up and start to date one another. So the social experiment is, are you in the relationship you were meant to be in, or is there somebody that's more compatibly suited for you?
Wow.
So they tell the couples that we vetted all of the couples here, and there potentially could be somebody here more compatible for you than the person that you're currently with. So with that premise in mind, you go on these dates with the people. They date for like a week. And then after that first week, then they choose the person from the couples that are there that they like to go live with. Live with for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So they live with the new person for 3 weeks and date them or have a virtual marriage. Not virtual marriage, but a kind of like a marriage type thing. They live together. A trial. That's the word I'm looking for. Okay. A trial marriage. But then after they've been with that person for 3 weeks, they go back to their original person for 3 weeks to see if they learned anything from the previous relationship, or did the previous relationship want them do enough to make them want to leave. And at the end, there's either going to be a proposal for marriage, a breakup, or the person can individually move on from all of it. And that's the premise of the show. So there were 7 couples that participated in this interesting social experiment. And the couples are Ray and Zay. Ray and Zay, Randall and Shanique, April and Jake, Alexis and Hunter, Madeline and Kobe, and Lauren and Nathan. So those are the couples that participated in this experiment.
Okay.
Now, I'll tell you right off the bat, this is the wildest show that I think I've ever seen. But it's a fascinating social experiment because it tests the theory it tests several theories. Number one, it tests the theory of ultimatums. Can you theoretically give somebody an ultimatum and make them do what you want them to do, or essentially basically call their bluff? So I asked you that question. Do you think in general and in theory of the show, do you think ultimatums work?
It's almost like playing a game of cards.
So I gotta take this off.
Sounds like a game of cards. You know, like somebody call your bluff when you're playing a game of you're playing certain card games. Do ultimatums work?
Do ultimatums work?
They can. Sometimes it can. Sometimes it can.
You believe?
Yeah. It worked
Why do you think? Why do you think they work?
It worked with you.
It did not.
It sure did.
It did not.
Oh yeah.
No, it did not.
Oh yeah.
No, it did not. You first of all, you didn't give me no ultimatum.
I was like, you know what? If you talking about you ain't ready to get married.
Now, I never told you I wasn't trying to get married.
Well, you was like, but you ain't had no date in mind.
Yeah, we'd only been engaged a week or two.
Well, you know, I was afraid that I was gonna be like one of my friends.
You were afraid
that had an engagement ring with no date in mind, and so it was kind of like it was out there somewhere, but really hadn't been reeled in and hadn't been.
Your ultimatum, or first of all, you didn't give me an ultimatum. You just told me to pick a date, which is fine. I picked a date.
No, I remember saying, if I'm not what you want,
that's a whole different. It was a whole different conversation.
Well, in my mind,
no, that's not the same.
It is if I'm not what you want, then let me get out of the way.
That's not the same thing.
Okay.
You didn't give me no ultimatum.
Well, a little bit. I said, you know,
whatever.
I want you to find whoever it is that you is deemed worth marrying and giving a date.
But Kieta, that's not what happened with us.
Okay.
You didn't. Those words meant nothing to me. How about that?
Oh.
Nothing.
Okay.
I wanted you, and I knew you was damaged goods. You were damaged goods, and I took my time and made the right choice for both of us. Why are you looking shocked?
Damaged goods.
Well, because somebody had broken your heart. They had promised you a wedding, and it didn't happen. Am I wrong?
No, but
then.
But still, it's your delivery.
I'm sorry. I'm no old pig. You'll be old shit.
Saying you old damaged goods.
You were damaged. Your heart was broken.
That's horrible.
Your heart was broken,
that's
came,
probably what you.
And I came by like Bob the Builder, and can we fix it? Yes, we can.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. All right.
So ultimatum.
It wasn't a real ultimatum. I didn't never took, all jokes aside, I never took that part of what you said seriously because I knew where you had come from. I knew the experience that you had had. So my desire to marry you was far greater than anything.
Well,
any of the fears you possessed of me not doing it.
I just feel like a person that waits 2 and 3 years to make a decision, somebody need to stand up and make an ultimatum, or else that person will keep on thinking that this is okay.
But I don't think an ultimatum for guys works well, because if a guy is not ready to marry you, he's not going to marry you. And that's just how it is. It's just, you can't tell a dude, you either marry me or else we gonna break up. He'd be like, well, then that's it then. If he ain't ready, listen, when a dude is ready to marry you, he will marry you. A guy's not gonna let what he wants get away. He's just not. Now,
why does it take so long?
What?
All these women, even women.
Wait a minute, you got engaged in a month, so this ain't your testimony.
No, but I'm saying a lot of these women, even in conjunction with Love Is Blind, the guys were like, either
Well, I think it takes a long time because everybody wants a sure thing, and that's not how when you're young and these couples are very young, they're in their 20s or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I think everybody wants a sure thing, and so when you're young and don't really understand how marriage works in the first place or how relationships work, and then you don't even know yourself. My head's getting cold again. And then you don't even know yourself. I think you don't know how to approach it properly. So there's a fear there of failure. You don't want to fail at this thing called marriage.
Okay.
Shout out to Crystal. What up, Crystal? You don't want to fail. You don't want it to fall apart. You want it to be forever. And forever sounds scary because you're like, man, I got to be with this person forever.
But women know that it sounds scary too, but they don't usually be the ones going, let me get financially stable first. Which, I'm grateful, and I'm sure every woman is grateful that a man that says, I want to get financially stable first. But then when we find out through the whole thing is that a whole lot of them was doing it for smoke and mirrors. Okay, you just switched subject. But okay. But what I'm trying to explain to you is, you are switching subject. But what I'm trying to say to you is, don't look at me in that tone of voice. That is rude. Guys are I think we're a little afraid of marriage. We're afraid of the massive responsibility that comes along with marriage. And a lot of us don't have the examples for what a good marriage is supposed to look like. So it's a weird combination of a lot of different things. As we saw play out on the show. So let's talk about some of the couples that are on the show. Okay.
So initially the show started and everybody that came on the show, we just gave you the names or whatever. And so everybody started finding their person to hook up with. So Ray, who's come from a mixed background, came in with Zay. And she hooked up with another mixed brother by the name of Jake. Not from State Farm, but just his name was Jake. And then Zay hooked up with another black girl that was on the show named Shanique. Mm-hmm. Her black boyfriend, Randall, hooked up with the Wahite girl, Madeline, mm-hmm. who came in initially with Kobe. Now, Kobe wanted to hook up with this girl named Lauren, but right before Lauren and Kobe could hook up, Nathan, the guy she came in, was like, bump that. I want to pop the question. So he broke all the rules and popped the question real spontaneous, like about, let's get married, Lauren. Let's not even play this game no more. I don't want to play it. I'm very uncomfortable. So they ended up getting engaged. And then that left Alexis and Hunter and April out there, who was Jake's girl. April was like, she didn't get picked by nobody. And ultimately ended up getting picked by Kobe just because by default, because there wasn't nobody left.
That's some cold-blooded stuff, right?
Well, but she wasn't the only one, because Alexis was going to get, not be picked by nobody either. And until Hunter stepped up and was like, I don't want to do this either. So Hunter and Alexis and Nathan and Lauren didn't do the experiment. They was like, nah, this ain't for us. So they went ahead and got engaged. Okay. Yeah, they went ahead and got engaged. Okay. So now we got these couples that are out on these dates, whatever. What were your thoughts about the pairings of the couples and all of the stuff that led up to
the pairings was when they were getting assigned. When
they chose who they were going to be with.
Oh, that's right. I was just thinking. Okay, so they chose who they wanted to be in the next 3 weeks with, right?
That's literally what we just had a discussion about.
I'm just confirming it.
Yes.
Calm down. Let's see. So I think that I really would have liked to seen Lauren and Kobe.
I thought Lauren and Kobe had great chemistry.
I did. I thought they had excellent chemistry. I think
if Nate hadn't stepped up and said something to Lauren and asked her to marry her, he would have been asked out.
Yeah, I think, and then in the end, he didn't even marry her. They didn't.
No, he married her.
They didn't get married. They did.
They married.
I was going to say, I think
no,
they
didn't marry.
They
didn't marry. You're right.
Married.
They didn't marry. They just got engaged.
He just blocked on old boy just because he didn't want nobody else to have her.
But ultimately though, that was the right decision because he really didn't want. He liked Lauren, and he would have gone with Lauren, and that probably they would have had some type of connection.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. Do you think Lauren was better fit for him than Madeline? That's what I'm saying.
Then again, now that I think about it, maybe she would have been like an experiment for Kobe because he was like,
oh, he was gonna hit that. He was gonna try to hit that.
I'm saying that
Kobe was gonna try to hit that.
He was trying his best to help her to unpack a whole lot of things that she had going on in her life.
Listen to me. Kobe was gonna hit that. Let me tell you why. Because Kobe had tapped into a place that Nathan didn't know how to tap into. Because Lauren didn't want to have no kids. And she's like, I ain't having no kids with Nate. I ain't doing it. So, and she's still kind of like that. Like when we watched the reunion, so she was still like, I don't really want to have no kids. I have one, but that's it.
Mm-hmm.
But Kobe was sitting by the pool with her. He was like, the reason why you don't want to have these kids is because of blah, 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 blah. And she was like, you're right, Daddy. You're right. And then we can take the kids on vacation. And she was talking like, we can take the kids out of the country and we can take the kids on vacation. Listen. And then you can pick them up after school. So
and
I was like, what the hell?
That said to me that it all depends on the person.
And that's the first lesson that you learn. Mm-hmm. A lot of times the relationships that work, well, not even a lot of times, every time, the relationships that tend to be successful are predicated on the ability of the two people to connect, communicate, and to create a safe space to be able to discuss openly and freely the ideas of the relationship or the frustrations of the relationship. And what Kobe did, he did that for Lauren. He said, hey, let's talk about the real reasons why you don't want to have kids. Because I don't think it's that you don't want to have kids. I just think you don't want to have Nathan's kids. Which I still believe she don't want to have Nathan's kids.
Yeah. Because I don't think he made her feel comfortable that it would be a joint partnership in raising the children. I think,
and I still think she feel that way.
He made her feel like, in other words, I want to have these kids, but now I'm gonna need you to stay home,
right,
and take care of these kids. And she like,
while I'm traveling and stuff.
That's not what she want to do.
That's not what she want to do, right?
Right.
So that was one relationship. So anyway, Kobe ended up getting with.
But you didn't answer the question yourself. You said, did you answer what does ultimatums work?
How do you jump back to that? I already answered that question.
Oh, okay. Just
you don't be listening. What show you be watching? Stop looking at me like that.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't hear me answer the question?
I don't remember you saying. I heard you say with guys it don't work.
That's what I'm saying.
What your thought was.
That was my thought.
You think with all the guys?
Yeah, I don't think ultimatums are a good idea. I think conversations about what you want to do are a good idea. And if you want to do it, then you'll do it. If you don't want to do it, you won't do it. It's that simple.
Okay.
All right, let's get back to some of the other people.
Okay.
You're so pretty. Hey, boo.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to get to it. I was having a moment. Give me my moment. Okay. All right. So, like we said, Ray went with Jake.
Yeah.
And by far, they were the prettiest couple on the show. Like, there was just two light-skinned.
The chemistry between them was
good. Or it appeared to be good.
It was like, man, okay, they get along. They just the chemistry. It was just awesome.
But their problem ultimately was both of them have been emotionally abused in their lives in relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, they could relate to one another and they had similarities to one another, but they were bringing all of that hurt to their own situation. And so that's why I think ultimately, well, we'll get to that in a minute, but I think while it looked good visually and it looked promising visually, I think there were a lot of the ultimate outcome that actually came out at the end. I wasn't surprised by that.
You know, I'm kind of wondering, did we just believe the hype that they were really compatible just because they were both so similar?
No, I didn't, because I sat there and, well, mainly because I'm watching her and I'm listening to her, and like her energy was so, you could tell she had the mask on the whole time. Like she started the show with the mask. My name is Ray, and I'm 24 years old, and I know how to. And it was like, whoa, that's aggressive, like a mug. But
she's like, am I allowed to say that? I'm sorry, like
you can say what you want to say, but
whether
that's
you
a
are
lie.
or not, you didn't say it.
Right, that's a lie that you just said. So I felt like she was hiding. Girls like that are typically hiding behind the mask, and you could feel that she was hiding behind the mask. Now I thought Jake was a little more solid, but even he ultimately revealed that he had some stuff going on with him that
but there wasn't a lot of arguments between
there were no arguments. They didn't argue not one time.
Yeah. But man, you know, you could tell she was so broken because she would just be like, you're yelling, and it's like,
well, and people weren't even yelling. He was like, okay, but he ain't yelling this time.
I mean, but then and on the same token, Zay,
well,
in front of her mama was like, you know.
Well, you skipping over. Okay.
Well, I'm just saying, like the interaction with the situation with her mama and him.
Well, hold on, before we get to Zay, let's break down the other stuff first. Then we'll get back over.
Okay.
Because we'll confuse people if we don't do it. Because there's a lot of moving parts.
Okay.
A lot of moving parts here. Okay. So Ray and Jay got together on the 3 weeks, and then Ray went back to Zay, her original boyfriend, and Jake went back to his original girlfriend, April. April had been spending time with Kobe because they were the last two left and nobody picked them. Even though girls were really feeling Kobe, they were feeling them, but they just didn't know how to navigate the waters. And I think a lot of them have a lot of sympathy for April too, because April kind of had the kind of personality.
I don't know the sympathy for her because, man, she was just
so
aggressive.
Some of the girls had sympathy for her.
Oh, okay, because for me, she was so aggressive. She was like, I want this baby, and I want you to marry me, and I want, and it was like pressure. And I mean, granted, she had been, like she said, she'd been in a relationship with him for 2 years, and she felt like, I rode with you when you was in the military. Now you out. What the deal?
Was that April?
Yeah, he was in the military. She was riding with him the whole time he was in the military. Because that's usually 4 years.
I thought that was Jake.
No, April.
Oh, no, you're right. It was April and Jake. You're right.
She rode with
Jake
him.
had been in the military. That's right.
And he been in the Marine Corps. And when he finally got out, she like, okay, I rode with you through that. What's up? You know.
And I feel her on that part. I did feel her on that part. My problem with what April was saying was, okay, but you still can't pressure me to do nothing. Like, you can't make me do nothing.
Well, that's why.
And April wants the baby and she wants the wedding. It never felt like April wanted the marriage. And when you don't want the marriage, I think a guy, it was crazy, Chad. I think a guy can feel that. A guy knows when you just trying, you in it for, like, I think that was Randall and Shanique's problem. Like, Randall was feeling at first like Shanique want this party, but I don't know if she really want to be married. Like, those are two totally different things. And so I'm not going to commit to a marriage with you, and you don't understand what it is. Like, so we can flip over to Randall and Madeline's situation. One of the things that that Randall didn't like was that Shanique was that kind of way. She wouldn't listen to him. She wouldn't, she didn't respect him. She always thought she was right. She just, I'm talking. And I'm like,
that type of communication.
Some grown ass man, you ain't just sit up here and tell me I'm talking.
But there were a lot of women that were addressing the men like that in the show, and were like, I need you to wait till I'm finished talking. Right. And I'm like, where they do that at?
But that showed you their immaturity. So I understood their immaturity, but it was crazy though. But see, that's what almost got Shanique burnt though, because Randall went to Madeline, and Madeline was like, "Hey, boo, I'll listen." And I'm gonna tell y'all something. And I hadn't even told Mama Noise this in our evaluation.
Okay.
Y'all ready for this? Randall and Madeline is the classic case of the successful black man. The reason why the successful black man typically chooses the white girl.
Well,
because Madeline presented an easier path to love. So he thought. So he thought, right?
Right.
So he was in it, and she was like, "Oh, I'll listen to what you have to say. I'll respect you. And she gave him all that. He was like eating it up.
Checked all the boxes.
Oh my God, Madeline, you check all the boxes and blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
But then when she was like, "Well, I really would love to sleep with you." He's like, not ready for that yet. Which, by the way, much respect to Randall for doing that.
No doubt.
Because she was throwing that thing out there.
Yeah.
She was throwing it out there like, you can have all this, black man. You can hit all this, black man.
Right.
And he was like, I'm going to pass on that.
I mean, it wasn't, I think them being together for the 3 weeks wasn't, I know they're supposed to be getting together and trying to see if this person was compatible with them, but having sex in those 3 weeks, come on.
But I'm gonna tell you something. I think Randall grew by leaps and bounds because he found his confidence in speaking up for himself and what he wanted through listening to watching what Madeline was doing. He was like, "Oh, there are girls out there that will respect me and listen and listen." So I got options. And by the way, Randall wasn't no chump looking dude. Randall was a handsome looking dude. Okay. So that was Randall situation. And then of course, Randall and Madeline. And then of course, Shanique was with Zay. Poor Zay.
Oh my gosh.
Zay was a lot. I feel bad for Zay because Zay comes from a hard background. He said his parents had, abandoned him, and he was damaged. He was just completely damaged. And so I get why Zay was the way he was and why he was so distrusting, because he had a history of people hurting him and breaking his heart and just a lot of stuff. They had a lot going on, man. A lot going on. So I get what Zay's situation was. I hated for him. He did remind me from Zeke. That's funny. I didn't think about that, but you're right, he did. Chad, you should have jumped on with us. You could have did a review with us. But yeah, I thought Zay he's a good dude. And he's a real dude. He's a real dude, honest dude. And he was trying. He was trying with Shanique. But he's deeply in love with Ray. He was trying with Ray, but man, he just didn't have the tools. He had the barbershop. Shout out to the barbershop.
I think that
he just didn't have the tools.
Him and Ray were just toxic.
Yeah, they should listen. Here's the real. Listen, you said a mouthful just then. High five for you. Ray and Zay should have never been together. They just not a good fit. It's funny, but you know what it is though? It's funny how misery will find each other. Like two miserable people typically can find each other. Like their misery can attract each other. And I think that's what Zay and Ray represent. Like the toxicity of their approach to life, their approach to marriage, their approach to relationships. It was all about me. satisfying my needs, making me feel happy, filling in the gaps of my life. That neither one of them had ever truly had to make real sacrifices before, and it was obvious they weren't very good at it. So I saw you could see the physical attraction to them, but Shanique really pushed Zay's boundaries because the same way she tried to make Randall step up, she made Zay step up, and so it forced him to kind of look at himself a little bit.
Well, I think Ray and Zay was sexual. I think it was.
It was totally, yeah.
And that's not enough.
No. You're not gonna be able to sustain relationship.
Because he kept saying, "I need you to open up. I need you to open up," and she's like, "Look,"
she said, "I couldn't do it."
But she kept saying, "I can show you better than I can tell you." Okay, he's like, "I know you can show me,
right?
But can you tell me?" Well, okay, well then that's where I struggle at.
Yeah. So now let's go back. They've done it 3 weeks. Go back to the 3 weeks when they're all back together. So now Ray and Zay are back together, and it is a disaster. Like it is.
Oh my gosh!
It is nothing but a disaster. They arguing because Ray done see what the other side can be.
Hey,
with Jake
on the green
right with Jake, and she's like, I could have better than this. And to his credit, so did Zay. Zay saw he could have better. So now it just ain't working. They arguing and they ain't coming together. And Ray don't trust. She don't feel emotionally safe with Zay to tell him how she feels. And so ultimately it didn't work. So it just fell apart. And do you really, let me ask you a question. Do you feel like them falling apart was the right path for their relationship?
Who?
Ray and Zay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too.
They didn't need to be together.
I think they need to be together.
Because if she already crossed the line and hit him.
Oh yeah, she stole on him. Bye-bye.
Now,
she hit that fool with a one piece. Like how?
I'm not saying that the part about him being out all night to 8 a.m. the next morning wasn't enough to be upset about, but to cross the line and hit him, that said to me that, you're in a dangerous place that it could cross over to. What if he would have responded with hitting her?
Well, let me say this. Shout out to Zay for not responding. Because that says a lot about his character as a man, that he would take that abuse and not respond. Now, I don't like that the show didn't really touch it. And they didn't say,
hey, man,
hey, Ray, you think you were wrong for hitting him or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
That was just wrong.
They just let her apologize for hitting him.
Yeah, it was a weak apology.
And then next thing you know, I don't want this anymore.
Right. It was a weak apology.
Whereas, like you said, it was making the man look bad because it happened off in another room off camera, but you like. Well,
and then you can't. Shouldn't nobody putting their hands on each other like that. Like that's just bad all the way around. And then if he puts his hands on her, we got a whole nother thing. That's a big camera. Zay was a big dude. He wasn't no little dude.
And there was a lot of those times that I have to commend him. There were a lot of those times, like you said, he walked away that could have been.
And I feel like maybe that's why he stayed out to 8 o'clock in the morning. I know he caught a lot of flack for staying out as late as he did, not calling, and he was wrong for that. But at the same time, I also realized that if you're an emotionally unstable person anyway, and she doesn't hit you, maybe it's best you do go stay out away from her for a little while because, man, this could have been really bad. So I ain't even mad at him for leaving like that. I'm really not. I'm a little upset at Nick and Vanessa just a little bit for not really addressing that. Like it probably
even at the end of it.
Yeah, it probably should have been addressed because that you never want to perpetuate that type of toxicity, and plus. He just looked bad. Black people out here fighting.
I was gonna mention that, but then I was like, "Am I being racist?"
So, needless to say, Ray and Zay didn't make it. So that leads us over to Randall and Shanique. So Randall and Shanique get back after their 3-week date, and Randall's a new man. He got confidence that he never had. And he was like, all that BS that you was doing prior to this, I got some things you need to change. You are not, first of all, you are not perfect, and you need to make the following changes. And I was like, oh, stand up for yourself, black man.
I was shocked at that when he said, you act like your poop don't stink. I said, oh.
And what I loved about it is that he wasn't, you know, being aggressive or that he was just saying, you know, I've been with you for 2.5 years and I've allowed you to tell me all the things that I'm doing wrong. Now I'm about to tell you, you know, what we really are. And so, and here's the other thing. Randall never slept with Madeline. But we can't say the same thing about Shanique and Zay. Shanique and Zay did something. Now, I don't know if they slept together, but they was up under them sheets doing something. I think she grabbed that magic stick. I think she tugged on the love muscle.
Oh, my gosh.
He might have put his face into place.
No,
but they kind of alluded. I think they slept together. They kind of talked.
No, they was just because they was under the covers.
They never said exactly what they did.
Yeah,
but they did something. No. That was way further than Randall.
She started the whole thing and letting him know that she sleeps butt naked.
Well,
said that's her norm.
I'm just saying they did something.
Okay.
So that's further than Randall went. Randall didn't do nothing. So. And she never told him about it until after the show.
Wait a minute. Madeline was bragging that she had Randall on Steel. So I mean,
but most guys are gonna get on Steel. That's not an accomplishment. I mean, it's not. Most guys are gonna. If a girl starts rubbing on their leg and sleeping butt naked to him, what do you think is gonna happen? I would question if he didn't get on Steel.
Well, you know,
like, bro, what's wrong with you?
You know, and she was kind of doing the most at trying to. I think she was just trying to make old girl jealous.
Well, she was drunk too, so you know that didn't help.
But the drunk folks was telling all of it. She was telling everybody business.
Right. But back to Randall. Back to Randall and
they think they slept together.
Yeah, I already saw that.
I didn't know that you actually believe it as well.
Listen, something happened. I don't know what happened.
She did say olive oil was used for lube.
But she said somebody told her that. He said it wasn't him. So he didn't say, they didn't confirm that it was them.
But if nothing popped out, why are we even talking about that?
Well, you talk about stuff. People talk about stuff. It ain't no big deal.
Okay.
But I do think they slept together. I think it was more than just rubbing on the magic stick, making a wish. I think something popped off.
Oh my gosh, making a wish.
I think something popped off. So I got to commend Randall for not flipping out on her like that. And they ultimately did, you know, he asked to marry her, even though
I'm gonna tell you,
they didn't make it.
I thought the way he was starting to have convulsions and stuff, crying and getting on, I was like, oh, he finna say, that's why I can't marry you. That's what
I kind of felt like he had made up when he didn't sleep with Madeline. And Madeline was throwing that thing on him. She did everything except whip the thing out and just look, I'm taking it. Doggone it. Black man, I'm taking it.
Yeah.
Consider this roots. I'm taking it. I'm just saying, she did everything but that. When he didn't do that, I felt like he had I felt like he was like, nah, I ain't gonna do it.
Well,
I'm gonna marry this girl. Even though
he didn't.
They didn't marry.
So all of that.
They got engaged. Well, because listen, I know what happened. They didn't really talk about it on the reunion show, but I'm gonna tell you exactly what happened. When she came back with well, before I marry you, I need to tell you something. I slept with Zay. He was like, I'm gonna need that ring back.
Run that back.
Run that ring back real quick. We got to put a pause on this little marriage thing. Because a brother, he didn't say it on the show because he didn't want to embarrass her. But
I don't think she did.
Listen, whatever she did, if she just oraled him up, if she touched it, she was touched by the hem of it.
Nope.
And I've been touched
Nope.
by the hem of his.
Nope. It's not gonna work.
I'm just saying. So I'm with her. I'm with Randall, bro. Y'all need to work out before y'all decide to like tie a knot.
Now, yeah, I'm sorry. I just knew they were not gonna get married, and then when they built up and was like, "We're getting married," and then go to the reunion thing and be like, "We didn't get married," it's like I knew it. Just because y'all put on a good show talking about the ring, then it's like she got her ring talking about. I mean, she couldn't even hug him for having done it because she's so busy trying to do all this.
Because she's still kind of immature. She needed to grow up. And I think hopefully they will make it. But I don't know. They may not make it at all. If we're being honest. Which leads us to April and Jake.
Oh, my gosh.
Let me tell you something, man. When you're young, sometimes, when you want to be cool, you'll go buy fake stuff. Like you'll go buy fake chains or fake outfits just to say you got an outfit, right? But then when you get older and you have access and opportunity to get the real thing, that fake thing don't really fit no more. That's Jake and April's relationship. He had never seen what a real relationship was supposed to look like. And he still ain't really seen it. But he saw possibility in Ray.
I agree.
So when April was talking that old, I just want to be here for you, and I want to be present, and I want to do this, he's like, this is some bull.
I mean,
because she would say one thing out of one side of her mouth, but then she talked reckless to him on the other side of her mouth.
Right.
And when he found out that he could have peace in Ray, I think he was like, nah, I'm good on this. So no, they didn't make it.
But I felt like that she was so controlling and so aggressive, and so I want it
and annoying,
and I gotta have this, and I want this, and you better give it to me. And I mean, it was more than the ultimatum. It seemed like their whole relationship together was gimme, 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 gimme. And like he said, she never asked him what he wanted, or that he was so used to her controlling attitude and personality that he was like, I guess this is just the way it's gonna be, and never told her what it was that he wanted.
And to Chad's point, April was annoying, but Jake's mom loved her. But I think Jake realized that his mom loved her, and that was a turnoff.
Yeah.
Because he said, man, if I marry this girl and my mama love her, because real talk, Jake's mama was annoying.
I was
but if he'd have married April, that man would have had a minute's peace.
Yeah.
So I think he made the right choice. But his choice was Ray. Now they didn't get engaged. They just went and decided they were going to do a trip, which they never took, because Ray ultimately decided that she needed to work on herself, and Jake needed to work on himself, and that she was struggling with her sexuality.
Okay, but what I'm trying to figure out is, so did they went from there trying to say they was just going to be boyfriend and girlfriend and just enjoy life?
That's what they initially had said, but it didn't work out either. But I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to make another statement that's controversial on this show.
Okay.
Give me a second. This is called dramatic pause.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Ray's not struggling with her sexuality. She's dating. She said she hooked up with a girl after the show, and that's the only person she's dated since Jake and Zay. I don't think she's struggling with her sexuality. I think she's struggling with her emotionality. She is not in tune. It is a word that I just made up. Emotionality. Oh. She is not in tune with who she is emotionally. She is not in tune with who she is as a person. And because she's not in tune with those things, she's searching, and she's in her life right now, searching, trying to figure that out. And that's okay, because she's only 24 years old. That's okay to be trying to figure it out. But what she's got to do is she has to stop being afraid of doing the work that it takes to discover you. And that is the one thing that I'll say about most people, most couples, where that's the biggest failure of most relationships. They get into marriages and think that the marriage is going to help them define themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And then they take on the personalities and the characteristics of the other person. And when those characteristics ultimately fail you because they don't fit your personality and characteristics, then you get angry at that person like it's their fault. It's not their fault. You need to do the work for yourself. See, for so long, Ray was leaning on Zay to do all of the work for both of them. The reason why it failed is because Ray hadn't done the work for herself. And ultimately, Jake and Ray would have failed because Ray hadn't done the work for herself. She's got to ultimately face the music and do the work for herself.
Yeah.
I broke that thing down, y'all.
Yeah, you did.
Okay. So finally, that left Madeline and Kobe. And so Kobe didn't get chose, right? And if y'all remember, we said he got with April. And they kind of him and hauled around, but they both knew what they wanted. April wanted her boo Jake, and Kobe wanted Madeline. But Madeline was booed up with Randall having an experience of her own.
One that she said she never argued.
Right.
Even though there was that one argument.
They had the one argument where she was drunk, but...
No, I mean the argument where he took the dogs and was ready to walk out.
That was the argument. She was drunk.
Was she drunk then?
She was drunk then. It was the same night.
Oh. Okay.
That was the same night.
Okay.
So here's where Kobe is a lot. Kobe said, well, Madeline's having a real experiment on this show, and she got to date somebody for real. So I'm going to go have a real experience. But I'm going to have to... He called it outsourcing. So he got up at 4 a.m., went to the club, met this girl, and was like, hey, we in an open relationship right now. We kicking it. So you want to kick it? And so he kicked it with the girl and hung out and, but ultimately he did realize that he wanted Madeline, but he never told Madeline that he was outsourcing, which, if we on the show and there's rules to this, bro, you're cheating. That's what you're doing. You ain't outsourcing. You cheating.
Yeah.
That knuckle was cheating. And so he didn't want to be honest about that, which almost cost him the relationship. But ultimately he came back and was like, you know what? You're right. I played it.
Oh my gosh.
I played the wrong way.
All the way to the last day.
Yeah, it was ugly. It got ugly for a minute.
It's your fault.
And I'll be honest with you, I was nervous for a second, but ultimately, I figured they was gonna make it. But what I didn't know, the twist on it was they did get engaged, but the twist on it was they got married on the spot. So
that is a twist.
And I think I know why. I think I know why they got married on the spot. Would you care to hear my theory?
Yes.
Her friends didn't really care for him. And I'm not sure her mama cared for him either. She liked him, but she didn't love him. And the daddy was on the fence.
Oh, so they wouldn't have come to the wedding.
I ain't gonna say they wouldn't have come, but they would have maybe tried to talk her out of it.
Okay.
And so she felt like she needed to make a decision for herself in that moment, and she did. And listen, they about to have a baby, so maybe they made the right decision. It's gonna be interesting to see.
She's the last person I would have figured, not the last, but the second to last person that I would have figured would have been pregnant out of that group.
Yeah, that's true. I would say that.
Because
I don't know, because she kind of reckless, and she admittedly said, I love it. I love it.
But
bring it on.
There were
whoever has it, I'll take it.
But there were some people that was like baby from the beginning.
Right. She wasn't so much, but see, that's why I figured she would get it, because she wants it, and she didn't really care how she got it. And that reckless type of behavior is how babies end up getting produced sometimes. Okay, so ultimately from the show, what did you learn from it? What were some things you took away from it?
Man, to see that people can actually grow in this type of environment.
Yeah, that was cool.
Literally grow.
Yeah.
Randall got on his grown man.
He did. He ultimately did.
I was like, okay. At first, it was like he kept coddling Shanique,
right?
And then she cried the drop of a hat, and it's like, oh, don't cry. But there was no growth happening.
Yeah.
And seeing how Shanique was able to talk. What was his name? Tay?
Oh yeah, Shanique and Tay. Zay.
Yeah, Zay was able to how she was able to talk Zay through things. It was helping her in the process. But at the same time, the way she said, okay, I see how because Madeline thought she was bringing her the funk, but at the same time, she was taking all those nuggets in, saying, okay,
I can do better.
I can do better than that. And I can be a better.
So that was the relationship that really touched you the most.
Well, the Randall and Shanique and I think it was just Randall and Shanique. If I right. Overall,
I think for me, I felt my heart goes out to Ray because I hate to see a young lady that confused about who she is and what she wants to be. And I think if her path is not ultimately interrupted by somebody who has the emotional, spiritual, and even psychological stability that she needs, I see just nothing good happening. Like it's going to get worse before it gets better.
Listen, the fact that Ray went off on the reunion.
Yeah, and the reunion, that's a great point. That is a great point you're making, because the way she reacted to finding out that Zay was wrong. Zay and Shanique never told anybody that they hooked up ever until after the show was over and after it aired. And so for Ray, who was already emotionally volatile, for her to find out like that and then be brought to the reunion show and be embarrassed like that, I get the reaction. It was a little over the top. It was way over the top, but I get it when you're hurt and you're damaged and you've been perpetually hurt and perpetually damaged over your life. I get it. So that part, the reaction, ultimately I understood. I'm just saying at some point she's got to kind of figure that out and start to heal. I would dare even say she needs to go to somebody's counseling and really work through a plethora of issues and find the healing base that she needs so she can go forward. So I was really my heart kind of reached out to her a little bit. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And Kobe as well. I mean, Jake as well. I
was just gonna say Jake as well. Yeah.
I thought for sure. Okay, because they vibe so much together that they were a couple that needed to be together. But then, I don't know if it was just the heat of the moment per se that they were going through, that both of them had so much in common that it really wasn't that they wanted to be together.
I think it's the same.
They had a lot in common.
I think it's the same thing with her and Zay. I think when you are broken and your brokenness is ultimately how you make all of your life decisions, then you gravitate to brokenness.
Okay.
And so you just that's an easy find for you. You can pick out a broken person. Matter of fact, here's what she said about Jake. You're just like me.
Which is not good.
That's not good. So if you got two broken people who are damaged in every way, you neither of you got tape or glue or hammer and nails to fix it, then you probably just gonna stay broken.
But that's what happened with almost all of the couples. Even though Alexis and Hunter are planning to get married, they didn't work out the problems like a couple of them pointed it out.
Right.
Y'all didn't make, she was already like, I gotta have me a man to make more money than I do because money is my lifestyle and money is, I can't have and all that stuff. But yet and still, she accepted his proposal.
Well, I think Alexis and Hunter have zero shot to make it long term.
Right.
If Hunter don't go get his balls back, he gonna be in trouble.
Right.
He gonna be in trouble.
Right.
I'm just saying. That situation was bad, and that's why nobody chose her.
Right. Oh my gosh.
Because she was a lot.
Right.
Hunter was a lot.
Oh.
And then she come back and try to mess up everybody else's
relationship. Major shade. She's like, I know this is my bridal shower, but you need to leave, and you need to. It was like, hold up. She was just throwing shade every which way, right. And I'm surprised that Kobe and Madeline even made it because she was like, I'm gonna make it my mission. That everybody knows that Kobe, he be playing games. He had the nerve. We like, girl, let it go. You got your man. Let's move on. But she was like, she want the world to know what Kobe said that Kobe she wasn't attracted to her.
He didn't say that.
Attracted to her.
Right. He didn't say she was ugly. He just said, I'm not attracted to you.
Oh my!
But that don't mean that's just because I'm not attracted to you. Don't mean you ugly. And even though she was a little strong in the face.
But
She has some strong features.
And that Nathan guy, I did not like the way he tried to hedge his bet on everybody at the table. And then when he is like, in other words, his car got pulled when Kobe was ready to make the moves on Lauren. Then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I'm ready to lose this game. Telling old girl, I'm finna pull your name. And she like, bruh, ain't nobody trying to check.
So back to the original question. What is it? What's the one? Is the one that had the most impact on you was who? Was that
Randall?
I feel the same way. I don't think they can make it unless they make some very serious changes and have some very serious conversations. And I'm gonna just tell you the truth. When a guy has been cheated on, like Randall has been cheated on in this situation, it's very difficult for him to forgive that situation. So will he be able to forgive her ultimately and go forward into an actual relationship, a marriage?
But they already done said that they were separated for 6 months and trying to come back together. They trying to make something out of this.
I think they're afraid to move on to the next thing. And I get that, but I think it might be time for everybody to move on.
I was gonna say that means she's already been holding out for almost 3 years, over 3 years. Wait, because it was 2.5.
Yeah, but
then the 6 months being separated.
Yeah, but to Randall's credit, shout out to you, bro, for not making that mistake, because that would have been a mistake.
So then, now that I think about it, after further review, maybe they did.
They dodged the bullet.
Maybe they did go ahead and have sex or something, her and old boy.
I'm telling you, that dude, Zay might tap that. He knocked that out, I think.
Wow.
So anyway, that's our review. It's a great show. I think it's an interesting show. I think it's a great show to have a discussion about sociological and relational type things. And really maybe even challenge your own relationship.
I mean, listen, it's definitely something to talk about.
And so we don't bring